Blog Talk Radio.
Beneficiaries. This is your host, Rick Hidalgo, also known as Eugene Richard of the House of Hidalgo. This is the Estate radio station on Blog Talk Radio. This is the Hidalgo House of Hidalgo radio show. And welcome all. It is the 7th day of June 2013. It is 8 o'clock Central Daylight Time. And tonight is a very, very special night. I can tell you, I've got another another great guest on here tonight. And we're going to get to him in just 1 minute. We can take care of a little business right off the top here. I want to let you know where you can find us. If you are on the internet, you could find us at blogtalkradio / South Dakota DP. That's double play. So it's blogtalkradio.com / South Dakota DP, like double play. Also, you can find us at www.therockofsalem.org. That is my official website. You can get to my blogs and all those kind of things from there. You can also see I've been on a couple of radio shows lately. Cancel the Cabal with Stephen out there in Michigan. So if you want to go and check those out, they're on there, down towards the bottom of the page. Also, I want to announce that we have opened up the lines tonight, so you can call in at 619-639-4605. That's 619-639-4605. And also at the bottom of the page on the blog, on the radio blog page, that Blog Talk Radio page at the very bottom, you'll see a chat room, a little chat screen, so you can ask your questions down there as we get going. So, without any more ado, here I want to introduce my special guest tonight. I have Mr. Attitude, Bob Prentice. He is a fellow that I've known for a while. Didn't really get to know him till here recently, but he's a very, very charismatic personality, magnetic personality, the kind of guy that you love to talk to, the guy that you run into on the street, and he just you would just hit it right off. He's that kind of guy, and he's I can say personally he is my what I call my life coach. He's helping me put some things together, and without putting it off any longer here, I'm going to bring him into the program. Welcome, Bob.
Well, thank you, Rick. Truly a privilege being here tonight and sharing with your listeners.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I should have asked you this some time ago when I first started to work with you, but where did you get that name, Mr. Attitude?
That's a really good question. I have been blessed with that moniker for about 25 years now. I had a client of mine. We got his staff together in a picnic shelter and had a creative thinking session over lunch one day. We had some chicken and potato salad and all that brought into the picnic shelter, and after the lunch, the staff meeting, we did a little creative thinking session and to solve some business challenges and do some sales and marketing promotional ideas, and the result of that meeting was actually quite positive. And the owner of the company wrote me a letter, and at the top of the letter he wrote, "From here on out, we call you Mr. Attitude," and it somehow kind of caught on from there, and so officially the slogan is "My friends call me Mr. Attitude." So
well, I guess that makes me a friend of it. Well, that's great. I love to hear your stories. You got so many of them. You're just so you're chock full of enthusiasm, and I love to hear you speak on your vast knowledge in all these life areas that you possess. Tonight, I wonder if you can't maybe start by just giving us a little background, telling us how it is that you got into coaching. Whatever possessed you to do something like that?
Well, it is kind of ironic that my life has evolved through what I call the school of hard knocks, and you get whacked back down enough and pick yourself up by the old bootstraps enough, and you learn something every once in a while. And not only that, but I became very mindful of a need for self-improvement in my own life. And in the early years of marriage, and my wife and I have been married 35 years now, and as I was, I guess, maturing in our marriage, I was still not having the success I felt like we needed to have, or in my business, and so in my struggles and challenges, I started researching everything I could get my hands on the subject of attitude, because it was my attitude I struggled with mostly, and so I found some really interesting little nuggets of information and life principles that made a lot of sense to me, and I would adopt them and adapt them and apply them pretty consistently in my life, and I was very motivated to make life change happen, and as I did this, people would ask me, if they knew me, they'd say, what's happened to you, and why are you so different now? And so I would share that with them, and like, for example, I learned a great tool on how to set and achieve goals, and I thought, well, that's something I need to learn how to set and achieve goals. And so as I was starting to achieve a lot of goals in my life, people would say, well, hey, Bob, how are you doing that? And so I just started sharing those little nuggets with people, and the next thing I know, my motivational speaking business kind of evolved out of that, and I started speaking at Kiwanis clubs and JC groups and cosmopolitan clubs and Lions clubs, and down at the county jail, anybody where I'd had a capped audience, I would share my nuggets and principles, and I would share them through lots of stories of life application and examples of taking negatives and turning them into positives. And people kind of related with those stories, and the next thing I know, 20-some-odd years later, I've had about 325,000 people in our motivational workshops and sessions and keynote addresses around the country, and I've been very, very much a blessed man. And so when I'm not doing my speaking engagements, I fill my time with telephone conversations, what we call coaching sessions, with people from all over the United States who want to grow and improve, and I have one-on-one coaching sessions with them, Rick, and as you know, and I average 1, 2, 3 a day, just coaching, encouraging people into 60-minute coaching sessions now. So,
well, that is great, and I can tell you, I can totally relate to what you're saying. It sounds like to me what you said, Mr. Attitude, is that God took your greatest weakness, which was your attitude, and he turned it around and turned it into something profitable for him. Is that pretty much the balance?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My major goal in life is to let my light shine for the Lord and to touch people in a positive way, and I guess they sometimes we're the only Bible a lot of people ever see, as we walk out our walk, and so I want to live right in my home. I want to do right with our children, and do right with my wife, and do right things with my clients and customers, and so running an ethical and moral business is very, very important to me, and at the same time, like I say, just letting my little light shine is absolutely vital, and so that's what my real main mission is.
Right, and I can tell that, and I really deeply appreciate that about you. I'm going to ask you this too, Mr. Attitude. You and I have had some conversations, and I know that you've told me some stories that just really were awesome, in my opinion. And I wonder if you could share the story that you told me about when you were in school, and you told me a story about a gas station experience that you had.
Oh, yes, that's a great story. I remember it very, very well, very clear. It's when I was about 19, 20 years of age. I left home. Dad, on the farm, Dad taught us boys the concept of hard work and never be afraid of it. And when I left the home, left the farm, I took that attitude of hard work with me, and I went on to school in Minneapolis to Brown Institute. I was going to become a rock and roll disc jockey. And the school, we only had to go half days in the morning, and they gave me the afternoons and evenings pretty free. And as I was going to school, there was a little gas station on the path to school there in Minneapolis, and it had a help wanted sign in the window. And I thought, hey, I'll go get a little job in the afternoons there after school. And I stopped by, and the gas station manager there, he kind of laughed at me when he said, "Oh yeah, you can put your resume on that stack of applications over there by the window." And it was about a foot tall of just applications. And he goes, put it there, and we'll let you know. And as I was filling out my application, Rick, I asked him a question. I said, "Well, would you mind if I, after school for the next couple of days, I just come in and work for free?" And he said, "Well, golly, nobody's ever asked that question before. Let me call headquarters." And so I finished filling out my application. He called headquarters, and headquarters said, "Yeah, go ahead and just make him sign a little something. He won't sue us if he gets run over out by the gas pumps." And so I did. And the next day after school, I came and worked and pumped gas and had fun with the customers. And then the next day, I did it again. And after my second day of working for free, I was told I had the job. And I thought, well, hey, that's fantastic. And I worked that job until school was out and my career was launched. And as I lived my life over the years, I've just continually had the attitude of, giving myself away and trusting God that I'd be provided for. And as I've done that over the years, I would do a lot of free meetings, and it's always just seemed that my bills have been paid, and my life is very rich and very full. See,
I find that a very compelling story, and I love to hear that because, you did it, in my opinion, you did it the right way. You put yourself out there and you gave yourself away. And the Bible that I study and the Bible that I make the center of my life tells me that if you give, it will come back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And you're just a perfect example of that, Bob. So I really appreciate that story.
Well, thank you, Rick. And you know, I admit I struggle with it like any other human would struggle with over and over giving yourself away, and then the fear of how do we pay the bills, how do we, get the groceries, and I mean that's just a really very real fear of how can you trust like that. But I learned on my journey that I have to face my fears. I have to do the things that I fear to do, and I remind myself that the death of fear is certain when I take that risk, when I step out of my comfort zone and do what I'm afraid to do. And it's just amazing when I do that. It just seems like I'm always taken care of. And so it kind of has been like a success begets even greater success. And just natural energies flow from that. So.
Right, and the whole reason I went there is because what this show is all about, Mr. Attitude, is we try to educate people, or sometimes it's even re-educating, because the world has taught us that things work a certain way, and the world has been caught time and time again kind of lying to us, telling us, that you need things that you don't necessarily need, or that you have to do things a certain way. And what we do here on this show is we re-educate people and teach them how to live the way that we originally were intended to live, the way that God created us to live. And so this show is dedicated to the living beneficiary, because I've studied out trust law, and I understand that when I say it's an upside down world, I know what I mean by that is we're presumed to be trustees by those who are in authority over us, and that presumption is actually incorrect, because God ultimately is the trustee. We're just beneficiaries. We're placed here to look over what belongs to God. And so having that worldview, there's a lot of people who come on this show to hear to hear words of encouragement, hear stories of how to live within this society, but live as God intended us to live. So I wonder, would you have something that you could say to the people who come and listen to this show in that area?
Oh, gosh, I could probably spend several hours with you on that subject alone, but I guess just sharing some of my beliefs and convictions about things. I'm very, very, first of all, very pro-family. I'm very pro-entrepreneurship. We live and operate in the free enterprise system. I believe that everybody should have at least a small sideline part-time business of some kind. If they have a job where they are an employee for somebody else, I understand that. I accept that, but I also encourage people to be entrepreneurially minded and take advantage of that. There's an incredible number of benefits of entrepreneurship and having a small sideline business. But I think even beyond all of that, Rick, I think it's important that people understand that we have options and alternatives, and that we don't have to just follow the norm, that we have to, we can be creative and we can be innovative. And I think one of my favorite examples of that is I also operate within what I call alternative currencies, and one of those is I love to barter. I love to trade. It's kind of my hobby, and so I have a lot of fun with that. That's I encourage people to grow their own food. We grow our own food here on our property. We are growing literally everything from asparagus to zucchini and every vegetable imaginable. And beyond that, we have 4 or 5 apple trees, cherry trees, 4 apricot trees. We have 4 pear trees, so 100 and some strawberry plants that we have, raspberry bushes. We're chickens, we're living a pretty simple and basic lifestyle here in rural America in the middle of nowhere, and strategically placed ourselves here to live that simple life and getting back to the basics. As a matter of fact, one of the toughest jobs I have in my life is to get back to the basics, the simplicities, and kind of rid myself of all the junk and the muck of this world. And not that I'm living in la-la land here, but, just that I want to be in control of my destiny and then leave a legacy for my children and grandchildren. That's what I live for right now. Making memories with my grandchildren is my full-time job, and I love my job. Very much so.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I appreciate that outlook that you have, and yes, getting back to the basics. Boy, that is a hard job in the day that we live. With all the technologies that we have and all the things that all clutter our lives, it's very difficult to get back to the basics. But it is possible, though, Mr. Attitude. You're doing it yourself, and maybe you can help us. Can you give us a few steps? How maybe some baby steps how we can get back to that?
Well, sure. I think it begins, first of all, with our own personal priorities. And I personally believe that I'm not saying that my priorities have to be your priorities or anybody else's priorities, but I personally believe my priorities revolve a lot around relationships. My relationship with God is the highest priority. My relationship with my bride, my spouse, like I say, 35 years, high priority. My relationship with our children, my role as a dad is huge, and then beneath that, my relationship with all my clients that participate with me in my seminars and speaking engagements or my coaching sessions, they're all very, very, very important to me, those relationships, and then obviously church and community and so in my friendships, all in there, and so my priorities revolve a lot around those relationships, and so that I have a written plan to maximize all of those relationships. My relationship with God, I have a written life strategy for that. My relationship with my wife, her and I have a marriage plan, a written marriage plan to maximize our time with each other in the ministry and the mission that we have here on this planet, and especially the role as a parent. And of course, we home educated all of our children, and still home educate today, and even involved in the education of our grandchildren. And so we have written strategies for all of that, and we believe in the concept of planning. It's that old saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so I don't plan to fail. I am going to, at least in some way, if God allows it, that I will definitely seek Him and with that kind of plan of action and work hard to cause that plan to become a reality. And then as a result of that, I have seen just phenomenal results just from my habit of planning. Golly, I could go into making the right kinds of decisions, and probably one of the most powerful decision-making tools I've encountered was the concept of trusting my wife's intuition, and in fact, my daughter's intuitions. God gave the female species an incredible gift of intuition, and men who grasp the concept of trusting their spouses or their daughter's intuition are very, very smart men. And as I've done that over the years, my life has been very much one of pleasure and not a lot of frustration and angst, because I learned to trust. And before I make any bold decisions. I'm running them. I'm running those decisions by God. I'm running them by my wife and my daughters, and just to double check, get their opinions and perspectives, and of course, obviously, I'm doing my due diligence and gathering all the facts before I leap. And because I did it all wrong first, so I would. That's why I call it the school of hard knocks. I mucked up a lot. I made a lot of messes early on in life, and I just made a decision that I just was going to do things right and do things well, and of course that's it boils down to the decisions that we make in life. And so I want to make the right kinds of decisions, the right kinds of choices, and that once again is a job in itself. And so I'm planning. I'm attempting to make the right kinds of decisions in life. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm thinking creatively and innovatively. I love to take the negatives. In fact, I did this, and I encourage everybody I encounter, Rick, to take the word problem and rip the word problem right out of their vocabulary, right, and substitute it with the word challenge. And from this moment forward, see everything in life as a challenge, or even more so as an opportunity. I've literally made my living out of taking negatives and turning them into positives, and then showing other people how to take negatives and turn them into positives. And as I've done that, I've just been richly blessed.
Yes, and I know some people may have missed it when you said it, but when Mr. Attitude says that he's got a plan for everything, he is not joking. Mr. Attitude has literally a plan for everything, and that's one of the things he teaches is having a plan for everything. And I know that, biblically it says that without a vision, people perish. And the whole principle behind that is you have to have a plan. You need a plan, or else you're gonna fade out, and that's when that perishing thing happens. Now, Mr. Attitude, you have I understand a book, don't you?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. It's a compilation of, I think it's right at about 50 articles that I wrote over the last 15, 20 years. I've written about 400 to 500 articles, and my wife and I took out painstakingly a huge amount of time, and mostly my wife, dissecting and pulling out what we thought were the best 50 articles, and we put them into a, yes. I don't know what happened.
I don't either. I'm starting to dislike calling a landline from this radio position. This is twice I called the landline and twice it dropped the call. So I think in the future I will try to use cell phones or Skype or something like that. However, we are back on the call, and you were just starting to talk about the book that the compilation that you and your wife had put together.
Yes, Homegrown. We call it Homegrown Seeds of Success, and it's a compilation of our what we felt at the time our best favorite 50 articles out of 400 or 500 articles that I've written, and included them in this book, and it's also an e-book, and it's available on our website, and it has been quite a journey in itself. And now we're coming out with another new e-book here this fall called Time Management Solutions. One of my favorite subjects is to share with people some incredible tools to manage the events of their life more effectively. Technically, we don't manage time. God manages time. He put it together quite well for us, as a matter of fact, with 365 days in a year and 12 months and 24 hours in a day and 60 minutes in an hour. It's pretty well managed. It's the only thing we have responsibility for is the management of the events within the concept of time. And with that in mind, we share with people lots of tools to be able to maximize those minutes and hours and days, and that in itself helps people live a richer, fuller, and happier life. And so we're coming out with that this fall. It's in the works right now, and we're excited about that also. So we'll have to talk about time management or event control or event management in the near future too, Rick.
Oh, absolutely. I know that I'm probably not alone. Among our listeners, we probably can all admit that we have a little bit of a problem with time management. After all of us have the same amount of time every day. We just like to devote ourselves to things that aren't so prosperous.
Yep, that's right.
So, having said that, could you tell me again what the name of that book was and where we'd be able to find it?
It's called Homegrown Seeds of Success. It's available on my website, MrAttitudespeaks.com. It's also available in the Apple iBook store and available for download there. And if you can afford it, go ahead and order it from my website. If you can't afford it, send me an email and I'll send it to you for free. And that'd be my offer to your listeners here anyway. So just pop me an email and say you heard it on Rick's show and you'd like the free ebook. And so I'd be thrilled to offer that to your listeners here today.
Well, that's excellent. I appreciate that. And that, I believe your email is bob@MrAttitudespeaks.com.
Yeah, that'd be my email address, bob@MrAttitudespeaks.com, and or my website, just MrAttitudespeaks.com.
Okay. Well, so let's. I appreciate you you doing that, Mr. Attitude. That's great. I tell you what. Let me take 30-second water break here. Throw a little commercial in, and we'll be right back.
You bet.
Do you remember the series of the 70s and 80s? You know, the Dukes of Hazzard, I Dream of Jeannie, Mork and Mindy, Hogan's Heroes, the list goes on and on and on. Of course you do. Why? Because they were family-friendly shows. What's the one place you can go on the internet to find them? www.retroshowsarbetter.com. Go by my Ace store and get yourself some popcorn and a movie and meet me there. Okay, this is the House of Hidalgo show. This is your host, Rick Hidalgo, and again, we're here with Mr. Attitude Bob Prentice. He is our special guest tonight. You could call in at 619-639-4605, and you could ask your question personally, or you could go down to the bottom of the blogtalkradio.com South Dakota DP site, and you could type it in the chat room down there, and you could get your answer to whatever question that you have. In the meantime, while we're waiting to see if somebody bites on that fishing line, Mr. Attitude, we'll continue with our discussion. You just gave us some information about your book. Now I know that you're quite accomplished. You not only did you author a book, but you have some podcasts out there, and you're all over the place. I think didn't you say you just got back from a trip where you did a speaking engagement in Minnesota, or?
Oh, on the road constantly with our speaking engagements. We had to actually spend a couple of weeks out in Minnesota with 3 different projects out there. One was with the Minnesota Sheriff's Association. Actually, 2 of them were with the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, and one was with a group out of Sherburne, Minnesota, Community Options and Resources down there, an awesome group of people. We did a full day of training for 100 of their staff in Sherburne, and we had a wonderful time down there with that. And And basically what we do is we start everything on a foundation of attitude. I equip them with several tools on how to maintain their attitudes in the difficult times, and we discuss things like the 4 phases of attitude that we go through, and then I equip them with tools to apply in their life, whether it be the steps of planning or the goal-achieving formula, or our time management tools, our communications tools, our leadership tools, or how to sell your ideas with confidence and enthusiasm tools. I am very blessed over the last 20, 25 years of building a pretty big toolbox, and so my goal is to equip people with these tools, and so that they own them and are utilizing them, and then sharing those tools with others so that they're cemented deeper into their own personhood, and or they share them with their family, their friends. And so I'm on a mission to help people accomplish their goals, their dreams, their desires in their life, and to face their fears, and to get out of their comfort zones, and to take risks, and to really accomplish something with the precious minutes and hours and days that we've been given, and have fun. I'm a big believer in fun. I just get a big kick out of the simple things in life, digging for worms in the garden with the grandkids, or planting seeds, or just making some. We did something kind of fun the other day. We had the dandelions were in full bloom, and we watched a YouTube video on all the things you can do with a dandelion, and the next thing I know, we were out digging dandelion roots, and we picked a big pail of dandelion roots, and we brought them in and cleaned them and put them in the dehydrator, and the next day we ended up having dandelion root tea. And there's like a couple of hundred health benefits that come from dandelion root tea, and then we were sampling the yellow tops, and we were eating them and just seeing what they tasted like, and we were eating some of the greens of some of the fresh young dandelions. And so, yeah, that's pretty basic when you go out in your yard and pick some dandelions with your grandkids and make an afternoon out of the study of the dandelion, and find out that the dandelions were brought over on the Mayflower, of all things. And everybody thinks, you talk about the upside down world where everything is all backwards, Rick, and there's an example of it. Everybody goes out and kills their dandelions, and here it's got more health benefits than people could ever imagine, and we're killing them by the bazillions. It's a crazy world when it's the simplest little thing like a dandelion root that can cure you and heal you, and we kill them, and we poison them, and yes, it's a crazy world this day and age, and keeping our sanity through it all is a full-time job, and that's where the whole mindset of getting back to the basics is coming from in my life. I mean, I'm driven for that. I am a man with a passion for that, and reducing and recycling and reusing, and just the creativity that it takes to do that, and then the fun that comes from it. I mean, we just have a ball with that around here.
Sure, and I can imagine what kind of ball you have. You have several grandchildren, don't you?
Seven grandchildren from 8 on down, and we're all getting together on Sunday. We're harvesting some of our chickens, and I'm going to put them on the barbecue grill, and probably do 4 or 5 chickens, and potato salad and chips and pop and all, and we'll just have a great old time on Sunday afternoon with all the grandkids. So, but my oldest grandchild is Justin. He likes to help with dispatching of the chickens, and I'm ready for the barbecue grill, and so we do have a lot of fun. He's been helping me with the chickens for a couple of years, since he's been 6 years old, and he's an expert at it already. So, and he's a big helper with Grandpa. grandpa here. He comes over an hour or two a day and works here in the gardens or in the greenhouse or with the chickens or just helping grandpa on one of his projects. And we do a lot of pretty heavy duty talking, and we do have a lot of fun, and that's what I live for.
That's fantastic, Mr. Attitude. Tell you what, take us back a little bit here. You said you intentionally moved where you were. It was a strategic move. You wanted to get out in the middle of nowhere. I'm assuming so you can be kind of self-sustaining. I wonder, and I know you're a real planner. So take us back, and what does that plan look like when you're talking about building, this Garden of Eden, if you will? What did that plan look like?
Well, it probably a little disconfabulated at first, because if I were to step back, it was about 15, 16 years ago. We sold every possession we owned, and we bought a Greyhound bus and converted it into an RV, and we purchased a car and put it on the rear end of that bus, and we towed that car all over the western United States, going from project to project to project. And we were, as a family, we traveled full time in this RV, and we were everywhere from the Gulf Coast of Texas to the oceans, watching the whales over in San Diego, to Pikes Peak, to Glacier National Park. We were all over the prairies of North and South Dakota and Minnesota fishing, and we just traveled everywhere in that old Greyhound bus. And like I say, in business, we were just going from project to project, and my family was able to travel with me. And of course, we homeschooled along that journey, and so at that point, we were just not afraid of anything after that life project for 3 years. And so my family's going and growing at the same time, and we knew that we couldn't live in a bus forever. And so they were kind of cheering Dad on to make some decisions about what the next adventure is going to be. And at the time, my parents had my dad had passed, and Mom wanted to sell the homestead, so to speak, the house they had in this little bitty town in the middle of nowhere, and because she wanted to move, and none of my other brothers and sisters wanted the property, and I never ever dreamed in a billion years that we'd technically ever live in Wessington, South Dakota, but we bought the property from Mom so she could go on with her life's mission and her dreams, and we came and parked the bus here one day, and we thought, well, hey, this is kind of nice, and of course pheasant hunting was a big thing, and the family had talked about getting a pet again because we hadn't had a pet for a long time, and since we were in the bus, and we thought of, well, maybe the Dad's next big adventure might be to go pheasant hunting and raise golden retrievers and live in the middle of nowhere, and we kind of just decided to do that very thing, and at first my family was a little perturbed at me that they were going to live in a small town of about 250 people and no kids around and kind of quiet. And I said, well, this is
right.
And good things will come from that. And they were all, up and coming teenagers and didn't really have any jobs per se around here for kids. And so we made our own jobs. We built a little ice cream business, and they sold ice cream, and they did that for a summer, and then they got a job at the Honey House down the street and did that for a couple summers, and worked in our business quite extensively too, and I would always rotate trips with my kids, and so they'd all take turns going on road trips with me after we moved to Wessington, and so in between all of that, we were planning out strategies to get back to the basics as much as we could, and then I started purchasing the property next to the one that we owned, and then I purchased the property next to that, and then I purchased the property next to that, and before I owned a big chunk of the southern half of this small little town, I think we have like 5 or 6 lots around here now, and all connected, and so it's one nice little property in the quiet little burb of this area, and we got the rooster crowing, and the chickens are clucking, and the cows are mooing over in the distance, and just
sure.
nothing like living in the middle of nowhere, and I get a lot of joy from that, and it's kind of what I guess you might say my therapy, because business demands a lot from me. I'm doing a lot of heavy-duty consulting in business all the time, and I do a lot of that, and it's quite demanding and taxing on the old brain here, and so when I need to get away from it all, I'm out in my greenhouse or out feeding my chickens or doing something to take that break from it all, but technology is offering a lot of opportunities for me now. I'm able to do my webinars here in the middle of nowhere. I can do my teleconferences here in the middle of nowhere. I can obviously chat with radio hosts like yourself. I do a lot of radio interviews all over the United States, quite extensively.
Right.
We're writing our books here. And I travel when I have to travel.
Wow, that is super. I mean, we've got a lot. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out how to, how to live simple, how to live within their means, and so that's kind of why I asked that question. Take us back and show us what that plan might have looked like, because there's a lot of people just trying to figure out how do I do something that's going to help me live where I'm at. A lot of people with maybe live in an apartment where they don't have a lot of land to work with. So that's kind of what I was getting at. Do you do a lot of indoor? Obviously, you have some greenhouses, but I mean, in your house there, do you do any indoor growing? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Our whole southern bay window I started growing in February. I was eating spinach and lettuce in March in my window and grew 6, 7 tomato plants here that we actually had tomatoes growing on. I was eating tomatoes 1st of May that started in February in my south window. And so, yeah, the whole south window was full of veggies and everything from, I had even a lemon tree growing on my windowsill. It
really?
It didn't survive, but it was up and going pretty good, and then we were gone for a few days, and it didn't get the water that it needed, and it didn't make it. But it was so fun to go get a lemon in the refrigerator and find a seed in it and suck the juice off it and stick it in the dirt, and the next thing I knew, I was growing a lemon tree. So I'm going to do it again because when life hands you a lemon, you got to squeeze the lemon and make another lemon tree. So I'm pretty motivated to try again, even though I fail. I've had a lot of failure. Whether it was way back when I was in grade school, I failed a lot. 7th, 8th, 9th grade English, I failed all of that. I didn't see the need to understand the English language and grammar. I just could not wrap my head around it. And years later, never dreaming that I would be speaking and writing for a living. And so that's the ultimate of a negative into a positive. And so we just, once again, just look at those areas in our life that we need to grow and improve upon and work diligently towards that. And we're living in the information age, and there's just a ton of information out there. And if a person wants to learn something, they have that capability today to learn it. And watch a YouTube video or take a course on the internet or get a hold of a coach that can help coach and guide and lead and direct you in some specific direction. I got well over a dozen clients like yourself, Rick, that are dead serious. I mean, whether it's a real estate client of mine that I have in Minneapolis or or a cake and a pie baker in Connecticut. I have an attorney in Pennsylvania that I work with. I have an exchange owner in North Carolina that I work with, and a writer in Montana that I'm doing a coaching project with, just to name a few, and people from all walks of life who are just dead serious. They want to make life change, and they want to accomplish their goals. They just don't know how to go about it, and so I'm coaching and leading and guiding and giving them some encouragement and tons of tools, whatever tool they need that I have in my toolbox. I share with them, and so we're definitely making that happen. And so I'm always looking for new clients too. So if you know of anybody, send them my way. I'd love to work with them.
And on that note, you can reach Mr. Attitude at MrAttitudespeaks.com, www.MrAttitudespeaks.com. And we have lots of listeners all over the United States, so there's a good chance that somebody out there might have a need for some motivation, for some coaching, for someone just to put all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. That's what I'm looking at. I just got all these pieces scattered everywhere, and I need somebody to help me put it all together. So, we're pretty much in the last minute of the show here, Mr. Attitude. I just want to thank you for coming on the show and motivating and encouraging people that are trying to relearn how to live on this planet the way God originally intended them to live. So if you have a closing statement, Mr. Attitude, that'd be great.
Well, my favorite way to close is just to remind people that success is failure turned inside out. It's the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. You can never tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're the hardest hit. It's when things seem worse, my friends. You mustn't quit. Good day, and God bless you all. Thanks very much, Rick.
Hey, not a problem. And so for Bob, Mr. Attitude Prentice, and Rick Hidalgo, this has been the House of Hidalgo show on the estate. We thank you for coming. We look forward to our next broadcast on Monday, and we look forward to having you all back for that. So for Bob Prentice and Rick Hidalgo, I say good night and God bless.